Libra, hello, and welcome to your Spring 2024 Shapeshift reading. We're looking at the shape you're shifting out of, the shape you're shifting into, and what that shapeshift looks and feels like for the spring season. I'm Andy, I'm your reader, and I'm joined today by the Green Glyphs Tarot Box Set by James R. Eads. This is a new set, and we are using the entire thing in your reading today. We've got the rune deck and dice set. We've got the Lenormand tarot, the regular tarot, and the James's Oracle deck. So it's going to be a bit of an epic reading today for you, Libra, this spring. Let's start with the rune dice and see what you get. Nice. Yeah. Gorgeous. Okay, I'm going to find the corresponding cards and then I'm going to show it to you and we'll look at it together. Okay, Libra, so left to right here, we've got Gebu, which is a rune that signifies gift giving, like giving and receiving, either receiving or giving of your talents, your skills, some sort of exchange. It's a beautiful card to see. And then right after that, you've got Manaz. Manaz just simply represents humanity, humankind. Could talk more individually about the self, but it's always in relation to the whole. So if this is your particular humanity and human self, because we're seeing so many other people here in humanity, it is in the context of the larger whole. I can talk a little bit about like human expression and connection and the things that bind us together as humans. Maybe it talks a little about society as well. The more social implications of being part of something called humankind, being part of a species. And then we have Yera, which literally translates to the year, and it's specifically referring to harvest time. So it's like, it's clearly showing the passage of the seasons here in this card, and this rune does represent the passage of time, but because we've got this farming rake right at the forefront of the card, it is particularly referring to harvest time and the season of reward and reaping the benefits, while keeping in mind the larger cycles, which just really beautifully flows into this final rune, which is not part of the Elder Futhok. This is an Anglo-Saxon rune, for those of you that care. But this is called Ak, and Ak literally translates to oak, as clearly seen here. And it is symbolic of this tree that stands the test of time and endures through many seasons and experiences continuous growth. So there's also the symbol of the acorn showing up, showing like the potential of the oak tree that is present in this tiny seed. So we're seeing the last two runes here are really showing us some larger life cycle stuff. And when I'm looking at this whole spread for you, Libra, there's I wonder about like what particular skill set or gift do you give to humankind? Because we've got Gebu, we've got Manaz. What is the exchange that you are experiencing in a larger social context or community context? You know, I think globally, humankind is experiencing a really intense turning point, a strong moment in the history of our species. So I'm not surprised to see this Manaz energy here reminding us of like the state of humankind in this current moment, and asking, the whole reading here for you, Libra, is really just zooming out in a big way, which actually is kind of cool because I was sitting down to breakfast before I started recording this reading, and I was like, who's next? And I was like, oh, Libra. Libra should really watch the last 4 spring readings. Like I had this desire for you to reflect on the last 4 years. that could translate into the last 4 seasons, since we're seeing, so maybe it's just last spring to this spring if that feels more prescient for you. But then I wonder if you do an even larger zoom out and look at the spring readings on my channel on Unseen Hands Tarot from the last 4 years. There might be something really useful in zooming out and putting yourself in that larger context to further remind yourself or further understand and embody the gifts you are and have received, and the gifts that you are capable of giving to your community, to the larger society as a whole. Especially if you're someone who's currently very much in the process of trying to understand your role here in society, especially at this time in history. Why am I here? Why am I alive? What gifts do I have? What can I even offer in this like insane period of history that we're living through? Are all of the questions that I'm seeing here. Oh, do you want to see my mug? It's Miss Piggy. Yira, harvest. So while you are keeping the sort of zoomed out perspective of many years, many seasons, like living through many years and living through many seasons and all of the seasons you have lived through in your lifetime, but also that like humanity has experienced way before you came. So keeping this really, really zoomed out perspective, there is something happening this particular spring that feels like you are reaping blessings. You are reaping the rewards of some hard work, because some sort of gift, gebu, is extended to you here. Some sort of opportunity or offering or exchange is being felt that feels like, oh, okay, I'm finally reaping the rewards of this. You know, like I'm finally reaping the harvest of a lot of hard work, of maybe many seasons of hard work. You know, I'm farming garlic right now on my property here in Vermont, and garlic is an interesting crop because not only does it take 9 months to grow, you know, we're not going to have a harvest in 3 weeks or 6 weeks. It takes 9 months. And because of that, because it stays in the soil so long, the soil takes years of preparation before you can really adequately create a nutrient-rich environment enough for garlic to stay in the soil that long. So it's like, okay, I want to hurry up and plant this larger field that I just cut out last year. And if I did that, it would be foolish because that soil is not ready and is not capable of feeding the garlic over the longer period. So like, I guess like as a farmer, on one hand, I'm investing in this like further field that I have to see seasons down the line and say like, okay, I need 2 years to prep that soil before it can hold as much garlic as I want it to hold. That's such a bummer for me in the short term, and teaches immense patience. But there is this gift in the short term, which is that I have this other plot that I have been feeding for 2 years that is holding my garlic, and I've already put in 2 years worth of work, and I'm about to reap some harvest this year, like the largest harvest I've ever had. And so I don't know, I'm just obviously seeing that in these cards because it's so literal for a farming endeavor, but like Libra, take that how it applies for you. Like what kind of work have you been putting in for the last few years, maybe 4 years, since I kind of had you go back 4 springs and reflect over the last 4 springs, maybe including this one? What kind of seeds have you been planting? What have you been nurturing? What have you been growing? Because now might be the time for harvest. Cool. Okay, let's go to the Lenormand deck. And we're going to see if we can get a more specific picture of how this is showing up for you this spring. Okay. Whoa. Whoa. One more. Bear with me. Sheesh. Okay, these cards keep coming out. Let me find out where they go. Give me a moment. Libra. Yeah. Okay. Let's see if this is where the cards go. We'll find out and look at this together. So I put the Child card under Gebu, the Whip card under Manaz, Humanity, Albatross under Yera, the Year, and Anchor under Ak, because for obvious reasons here. So just on first glance, you know, Lenormand reads differently than the tarot. It typically is like a left to right type of story, but I'm going to start with my first impression, which is that Anchor card under the oak tree, because the oak tree, that Ak rune, is so much about endurance over time. So the anchor under that feels like there is something sort of anchoring you through this intense moment of history that you are living through, and like human history in particular that you're living through. Because I'm looking at the Whip and Albatross. The Whip talks about conflict. And like clearly we're seeing a wounded bird here in the Albatross. So it's just like not, and with a red sky in the background, it's not humanity's greatest times to be living through. We obviously know this. There's war, so much devastation, so much climate devastation. And we're seeing that in these center cards that are telling us about the current season, Yera, that we are living in as Manaz, humanity. But then we've got Gebu, this gift, and the child is here. So I don't know, maybe some of you, there is a child in your life that is this like gift, or maybe there's something about a childlike attitude, a childlike part of you that is such a gift, and maybe even is part of the anchor in the current season of humanity that you're living through. Could be. So let's look at this. Let's start with the child, and we'll read a little bit from the guidebook. Okay? So this energy is young, it is small, maybe a little naive. It's the energy of a student. It can also represent a new beginning. We've got the sun rising on the horizon after all. It can also talk about like just starting out, feeling a little inexperienced or a little like innocent, a little naive, or it can talk about a fresh start. So I'm wondering if, especially with it coming under Gebu, there's actually, I know I talked about like seeds that you've been planting for the last 4 years, but actually, again, if we're zooming out in this reading and looking at the larger context of things, 4 years is not that long. It's a drop in the bucket of your lifetime, let alone lifetimes before and after you. So in this relatively short amount of time, maybe there's some sort of gift that you've acquired or some sort of skill that you exchanged that you've begun to nurture. And I guess the child card is reminding you that it's still new. And I feel I'm getting a little deja vu from a reading that I gave you, I couldn't tell you when. Again, maybe this is reinforcing that cue that I felt earlier to go back through the history of the Libra readings, because there might be really something there for you. But I think there was a reading, what's that phrase? Fake it till you make it. Or like fake it till you become it. There was a reading sometime in the recent history that was warning you against putting the cart before the horse, or warning you against like acting like you're further along in your skill set and development than you actually are. And so I'm seeing that here, reminding you that your skill set is still student mode. It is still in the learner category. You are still developing because we have the child energy. Now, a different read of this, it could be talking about some sort of gift or opportunity that presents a new beginning. You know, we can read this super literally too. But whatever it is, this gift or your talents, it's a new start. It's new, it's nascent, it's at the beginning. And there's a lot of hope with that. Like, I love that there's these rays of sunlight and sunshine, like poking up behind the horizon, behind the child and behind the hands. I just heard the phrase gift, a gift to the child, a gift to the child, a gift to the... Are you the child receiving the gift from an elder? That could be an interesting read, especially since we've got the seasons and we've got the passage of time showing up in these zoom out runes. And it's like an older generation giving a gift to the younger generation. Or I guess we could read this more like socially, in the social context, and say like, what is the older generation giving these younger generations that are coming out? What are we passing on? Oh, that's kind of cool, coming off the Virgo reading, which is called Legacy. So maybe check that out, especially if you have Virgo placements as well. Okay, and then the whip. The whip talks about conflict right underneath of the Manaz card, right underneath of humanity. Yeah, like we are in a time of war, multiple wars. We're in a time of conflict. A whip is something painful. It is an instrument used to inflict some sort of pain or some sort of control. But in this tarot deck, it is this, it is some sort of symbol of conflict or argument or difficulty. So perhaps there's a gift being given to the child amidst a time of difficulty. There's some sort of gift to be given at that time. I'm sussing it through just like you are. Let's look at the albatross, which, okay, I keep forgetting this, that in this deck, the cross card in the Lenormand is an albatross. So it makes sense. We're going to look at it with Yera. An albatross is typically a harbinger for what comes next, a warning for either what has come before that whip card and a challenge for what comes after, which is the anchor. So the conflict essentially that humanity is experiencing, particularly this season, particularly this spring, since we're talking about the Yera card brings us into the current time. So it could be this spring. It could also just be talking like this year in general. But there's something going on this spring that's particularly difficultly forecasted in terms of the ongoing conflicts that we've been experiencing here as humanity, increasing the burden, increasing the challenge. The rest of the cards associated with this are faith, duty, responsibility, conviction, karma, maybe even in the context of like, again, reaping what you've sown. Like, we are now experiencing the very real consequences of all of the seasons that have come before, and here we are experiencing them now. And I think that this is true in a much larger like human context, Libra, but maybe it's also true in your current context. So there's some like results that you are reaping this spring, good and bad, it looks like, you know, like there's some good things that you are receiving, Gebu, because of the work that you have been putting in and the things that you have just been starting and beginning to make happen in your life. And there's also some like other consequences that maybe feel difficult or challenging because of how you've lived up into this point. And it's challenging. And again, like you, when I say you, it's always, yes, like plenty of personal responsibility to take here, but it's always in the context of the larger society that you live within, and the systems that it has been putting in place that we are now seeing the consequences of. So both are true and happening at the same time on different levels in your experience. And the challenge is to the anchor. And so with the cross card and the anchor, that combination indicates a need to stabilize your faith, or like stabilize your strongholds. If faith is something that resonates with you, like having faith or having hope, or what is it that stabilizes you in these times? And I like the Op card coming out, reminding you to kind of zoom out and like keep the bigger picture in mind, and that actually might help to be the anchor, the perspective you need to keep some faith during these difficult times. Okay, we clearly need to keep going. I've got the tarot deck to call on next, and then we're going to finish with the oracle. So we're only halfway through this reading. If you'd like to continue and see what this gift energy is and what exactly it is that you're reaping at this harvest, at this particular moment, and how this is playing out in the larger context of the passage of time for you, Libra, then we're going to keep going with this. And if you'd like to join, just click the link in the description below to go to the shifting space. This is a space where you can watch the full zodiac readings for all 12 signs and investigate them together with us over the course of the season. So if that sounds like something you're into, I'll see you over there for the rest of this reading.